bit nervous and I'm not too sure whether I can do it good for the first time. And if I didn't do very well or didn't explain very detailed, you can always email me. Perhaps I can explain better. Alright? And okay, today I'm running a class. I'm showing you on how to do a quilt for a beginners who has got zero knowledge, even have got tools but don't know what to do with it or how to use it. Of course, certainly a lot of people, they have got tools but they can't even cut straight, and they even ask me how to cut straight. Well, I'm going to explain to you what are do's and what are don'ts so that you can do it very nice, okay? Now, first of all, you got to have all those basic tools. The basic tools is a rotary cutter, a bias square ruler, and a long ruler, and a cutting mat. My cutting mat is extra big. So usually it's like 24 inches by just like quarter size of this only, or maybe half of the size of this only, the actual one. Anyway, as you can see that why I'm using these two rulers, as usually a lot of people, you know, when you see in the YouTube, they only use one ruler, and they always follow the lines of all these cutting mat. As you can see that this cutting mat of mine is really very worn out because I've been using like almost 30 years now, and I haven't even thrown it away or haven't even replaced. The reason why, because I need this bias ruler so that I can align my fabric properly, nicely, without looking into the grid. As you know that, you know, after a period of time, after when you use the cutting mat, it will worn out and you've got to change. But I don't do that. I don't simply, you know, spend money as I like. I'm going to explain to you on the rulers, how to read the rulers, okay? Now, this rulers has got many lines, so you might get a bit kind of like confused, especially you're a beginner, you don't know how to read it. So many lines, all those little tiny lines here, tiny lines. All these tiny lines represent 1/8, all the 8s, okay? 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8. 8/8 is exactly 1 inch. Now, and all this little, the medium line, they are quarters. You see, 1/8, 2/8 become a quarter, alright? And 4/8 is half. And 6/8 is 3/4. Now, on all these solid lines, they are 1 inches. And, well, normally when I do quilting, I follow the American style. I'm using in inches, not centimeters. But, of course, Japanese style, they like to use their centimeters, okay? Now, this ruler is like a 6 inches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, by 24 inches. As you can see, up to here, 23, 24 inches length. And while this bias square ruler, bias square, why is it called bias square? Why it's not called square ruler? Because this is a bias, especially like when you do half triangle, join half triangle, you get a square, but normally you get a distorted squares, especially when you do the squares like, you know, 2 inch and below. Therefore, we need this bias square ruler. That's another technique which I will explain much more later, okay, not today. And but today I'm using this bias square ruler just to align my fabric to cut it straight, okay? This is the explanation on the rulers. And talking about this cutting mat, you look at this cutting mat of mine, it's really worn out. And you see, it's even kind of like the line has been sunk in. This cutting mat, you must not roll it if you are not using it. Just try to find a place and you just lay flat. You got to store it flat. Never roll it, because once when you roll it, it become warps. And you can't really cut properly then. And don't store it in the sunlight, under sunlight, or put into your boot, you know, when, especially when you go for lessons, for a class or whatever. Alright? Make sure not to do that. Okay. This rotary cutter comes in many various types, but this rotary cutter of mine is 60 mm. Some is 45 mm. Alright. Now, when you use rotary cutter, this is for you to rest your finger. We have got to go on only one stroke up. Okay. You don't cut it downwards downwards is usually like using what they call this paper pen knife, whereby when you cut papers, you just cut it from downwards. But for fabric, we cut it upwards. And this is not a pizza cutter. Try not to cut, alright? And then when it's not really perfectly cut, you can't cut through, you just come down again and recut like this. That is called pizza cutter, but this is not. This is only one stroke up, remember. Because if you go up and come down again, you wouldn't have a smooth edge. Because when we do patchwork, when you do quilting, or whatever you call it, patchwork or quilting, you want to have a nice and neat cut, so that you will have a beautiful finishing once when you finish the block or a piece of quilt. Now, talking about fabric, this fabric is a 45 inches width. 45 inches width is from here to here. Okay, now as you can see, this is the selvage. These are called selvage. Every fabric has got selvage. Okay, now the grain runs this way. This is the width grain, and this is the length grain. The length grain, as you pull, is quite taut, and the width grain is a little bit kind of like stretchy. Alright, a little bit stretchy, as you can see, stretchy. Okay, now, and if it's from one angle to the other angle, it's called bias. It's even more stretchy, as you can see, so springy, you see. Okay, that's usually when you make the triangles, you tend to have bias. That's why when you cut like two triangles, when they join up to become a square, you usually will have a distorted square. Therefore, I will introduce this technique to cut. You will have a perfectly beautiful square. Now, talk about fabric. Before you cut, we must always, this is very important, you have got to always iron crease-free. As you can see, there's some crease here and there, so I'm going to show you how to iron it. Okay, this is how you just press it to make it really smooth. Alright, you just kind of like iron the entire, I just iron a little bit just to show you, as my battery is almost running out. So I have to do it fast for this beginner class. Today I'm only teaching you how to cut the fabric. The next lesson will be how to sew. Alright, once when you already iron it, you just kind of like this selvage to selvage, you fold, one fold, and then after that you just iron press with your finger. Alright, and then you fold another side again. So which means we will have 4 layers here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now before we begin, we have got to, you make sure that there's no folds underneath. There's some folds here because I didn't press properly, because I'm kind of like do it fast. Okay, now there's no fold. If there's a fold, you just do it by your hand. And we have got to realign the fabric to make it straight, the edges. So this is what normally I do. I will use this by a square ruler, and I'll just kind of like, just measure here. Any of these solid lines, that's not particular which lines that you have got to do. I just kind of like take solid lines against this edge, the fold here, and I'll put this long ruler against this ruler. See that? Hold it against this ruler. Alright? And then I remove this when I'm happy, it's straight, and I'll cut it. Now, when you cut, you just flex your finger, don't press it. Once when you press, it will tend to shift. Just flex your finger will do. When you cut, remember that. This is very important. Flex your finger, and you just cut it. Just cut. And don't bend too much because it will hurt your back if you cut many strips, alright? And what you do, you can walk your finger. Once when you walk your finger, just stop this hand of yours. Don't move. Even though if the ruler already shift, you can still put it back because you didn't move your right finger. Okay, I'm just showing you the example of it. Alright, can you see that? It's not moving at all. Alright, now, and you just walk your finger and you just cut. Okay, that's the first cut. Alright, now then after that you can just cut 2 inches. Let's say you want to cut 2 inches strips. 1, 2 inches strip. You just align on the fold of the fabric, and this line, solid line, on the edge of the fabric, and you just cut again. Okay, see that how I walk my finger? Okay, and that's it. So when you open it up, as you can see, the edge is really neat. Okay, very neat edge. And this is what you call strip, as what you can, some people they read in the quilting magazine or books, you know, when it's asking for strip, you don't answer what's the meaning of strip. This is called strip. Okay, and you just keep on cutting. But I advise, if you cut after like, you know, 5 or 6 strips, you can just sort of like realign again, and to make sure that, you know, the line is not the shift or whatever, the grain line. Now, once when you move your fabric, you have got to remeasure again, because usually when you shift your fabric, the line will be moved a little bit, as you can see. As you can see that this is moving a little bit now. Now you see, I put this on the real fold. As you can see, it's moving a little bit now. It's out. If you find it's out again, what you do, you just recut again to make it smooth and nice, the edge, and then you just measure 2 inches again, and there you go. See that how I move my finger? I walk my finger, alright, and that's it. Now, what I want to advise is that, for example, let's say if you already cut so many, you need maybe 100 strips, and then you couldn't do it today because you're too tired, then you thought that you want to store it away, you just throw it away, and tomorrow you want to continue cutting, and you thought that you just trim it neat and nice, and you want to recut again. That's no. Because once when you fold or shift your fabric, you have got to go back to the iron board again and iron, and press nicely again, and then realign the edge again, and then recut again. This is my advice to get a very good, nice edge of the strips, alright? Now, today I'm only teaching you how to use the tools, but on my next video, that's a part 2, I'm going to teach you how to sew. And I see you guys on my next video. Thank you very much for viewing. Thank you. Bye.